Hey everyone, Anthony Melchiori here, and today we will be discussing the top 3 tips to build wealth. So what's wealth? This could have different meanings to different people, but most people take it as having an abundance of resources, money, or assets. That's why you hear the phrase wealthy when you're referring to someone with lots of money. So enough about that. Let's get straight into the 3 steps you'll need to get wealthy. So the first step you're going to need to take is to create a positive cash flow. You can do this by getting a promotion, getting a better job, working a second job, cutting expenses, or my personal favorite growing up, creating a side hustle or a little side business. For those of you who just don't have the time to work anymore or look for another job, or you already make good money but you're still living paycheck to paycheck, you're going to need to cut expenses. If you make $100,000 a year, live as if you make $70,000 a year. Now, I personally, and I try to tell my clients this also, I try to cut the expenses in half. So if you're making $100,000, I tell them, shoot for living like you're $50,000. But I know that's not reasonable for everyone, but you definitely have to cut that down. If you don't want to work for the rest of your life, if you want to one day live on an island or drink coconut water or chill on the beach and not have to worry about money every single day or how you're going to pay your next bill, you're going to need to cut down these expenses, especially if you're making good money now. Why are you going to work for the rest of your life when you don't need to? And depending on the amount you cut, that could create enough financial income to be your second job. If you're making good enough money where you don't need to live as high as you do, you don't need to have all the expenses you do, if you cut that, like I said, $100,000 to $70,000, that's an extra $30,000 a year now you have. That's like a part-time job right there. Now, if you just can't get that promotion or you can't get that second job and your expenses are already as minimal as they can be, I understand that. I've been through that and I know what you're going through. But then you need to create a side hustle or some type of side business that you could do on your own time or whenever you're free and generate some type of income. 2 important tips when choosing that side hustle, though, is to A, make sure that it's sustainable and expandable. Or B, if it's not sustainable and expandable, it's quick and it's worth the money. You're making enough that it's worth your time. So an example of a side hustle that's scalable and sustainable is something that you can create or do yourself all the time. So one example is YouTube videos. You could create YouTube videos. I used to write books and sell them on Amazon, so I still get money off of that. I didn't scale it as much as I should have, but I could have continued writing. If that was something I enjoyed so much, I could have continued writing a book a week or a book every month or whatever, and it would just constantly bring in money. So that's what I'm talking about, where it's sustainable. And then if I decided instead of writing 1 book a month, I do two books a month or 4 books a month, you could make it grow, you know? So that's one example of the sustainable and scalable side hustle. An example of quick but profitable side hustles is something like flipping. So if you can get something, an item that's limited, or the item like supply and demand, think about if I have an item that everyone wants, but there's low demand, if I bought that item for $100, you could sell that item for $500. Okay? So this was my favorite hustle. This is something I still do to this day. I mean, it's not a priority of mine, but whenever I see something where I could make a flip, I take advantage of it. So I used to flip things like sneakers, like limited edition sneakers, collectible cards. I mean, all of you younger people with I used to flip Magic cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So things like that. If you could get something for a lower price and people want it, or you know they're gonna want it, or you know the quantities are limited, you hold on to that for a little bit, you could flip that for a huge profit. But that's not sustainable. So it has to be worth your money. You're not going to flip something for $5 and be happy with that, you know? Think about like the 10 times rule. So if you bought it for $100, look for $1,000. I mean, that's not always going to happen, but make it worth your time. Make it worth the flip. So whatever way you have to do it, make sure you're having a positive cash flow this year and you are making more money this year. That's going to be the first step to wealth. You need to do this. If you want to become wealthy one day, you need to find a positive cash flow somehow. So now we have a little bit of extra money in our pockets. This is not spending money, obviously. This is not, oh, I saved $30,000, now I'm going to buy a new car money. This is investing money. Now, there's a few ways to invest extra money, and I'll give you my opinion and my thought on which way would be more suitable for whatever type of life or your current situation you're living. So if your current situation is something like you don't have a stable job, or you're looking to change careers, or you don't have good enough income to sustain off of, I suggest investing in yourself. You could do this by investing in education, to learn something, go back to school, or you could do this by investing in a business that you could run or manage. This path can be difficult, but it can also be the most lucrative. You're either going to learn something new to start a new career, or you'll be betting on yourself and starting a business off an idea you believe in. Either way, you're going to be investing in yourself, and I always highly suggest that's always the best investment you can make. Education, you can never have too much education. You can never know too much. But now let's look at the opposite side of the coin. Let's say you are in a good job, or you're not in the position to change jobs at the moment or go back to school, or your income's great and you just don't want to leave. You can't be forced to do something. But now let's say you have that extra $30,000. You could use that money to make you more money. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about traditional investing. This can include buying stocks, real estate, becoming a silent partner in a business, and much more. No matter which idea you choose, the process is all the same. You're going to use your extra money, your positive cash, to create more money, to create more income, to create another stream of cash flowing into your bank account. Depending on your knowledge and who you know, this could be a lot more passive than the first route in investing in yourself. This could be a lot easier if you know how to invest in stock markets, or you know how to do real estate, or you have a good friend who you trust and you know their business is going to take off. If you don't have this knowledge though, start with option one. Invest in yourself. Educate yourself on how to make money in the stock market. Educate yourself on how real estate works. Take courses, read books, take a classroom. What am I saying? Go to the classroom. But invest in your knowledge, invest in your education, learn how to make that money into more money. Now, even if right now you're going to start with option one and you are a full-time student, or you're learning things, or you're starting a business and you just don't have that extra income to be putting into other investment opportunities, that's fine. You are technically investing. But I suggest as soon as you're not using that extra money to educate yourself, or you're making positive cash flow from your business, or as soon as you get the opportunity to use that extra money for option two to do a traditional investment, I 100% suggest that. I think everyone should get into option two at some point in their life. So with option two and the power of compound interest, which, just to put simply, is all the extra money you made with your investment, you're reinvesting into it to increase the amount of money you make for that investment. You'll be able to retire early, live off of it, and you're not going to have to live paycheck to paycheck anymore. Especially as you get down the line where you don't have the option to work, or if something happens and you can't work, you'll always have that money set and ready for you. I'll get a lot more detailed about compound interest and investing in another video, so don't worry, just look out for that. So now that you completed the first two steps, you've increased your cash flow and you're investing your money into either yourself or into a traditional investment idea. Our next step to build wealth this year is to cut down debt and increase your credit. Now, I did speak about how some debt can be a good thing in my Should You Get a Credit Card video, but today we're talking about cutting the bad debt. Anything with high interest or didn't specifically go to a investment opportunity for you or for your education is no bueno. That's bad debt. We got to get rid of that. I did choose this to be number 3 because sometimes you do have to take on debt to advance in your life or to seize the moment and capture a great opportunity. Or some people just don't have debt, and good on you, you already completed half of step 3. And the reason we're going to be cutting this debt is not only to build our credit, but also debt is basically the opposite of wealth. So when we were speaking about investing, we mentioned how we use money to create more money. With debt, the debt collectors are doing the same thing, but with your wallet. Every month when you're making a payment toward the credit card company or to a debt collector, you're paying the interest off first. You're not paying the balance. The balance comes second. So I'll give you an example and I'll keep the numbers simple. If you have $100 that you need to pay off and your interest rate is 25%, let's say you're making a $30 monthly payment. $25 of that $30 is going to the interest. You're only technically paying $5 toward your bill, $5 toward your balance. So that only moves down from 100 to 95. Think of how long that's going to take, because they just keep adding interest. They just keep making more money off of you. That's why you always hear the horror stories about how when people get caught into debt or they fall behind, it's impossible to climb out. It just keeps piling up. Being able to pay this off as soon as possible will save you tremendously in the long run. Sometimes though, you can have incredibly low interest debt, and it may not be worth putting all your money into paying that off as soon as possible. If it's low, it's usually better just to pay the minimum and put that money toward an investment. This will increase your credit by showing that you're good with making payments, since you're making that minimum payment every month. And then if you're using that extra money that you could be putting into the debt and actually using it for an investment, making a business, or even a traditional investment where you have a higher rate of return, you're winning in both ways. You're building credit and you're making more money with the interest. Just make sure you're not missing that payment at all. I know it's low and it's not a big deal, but just make sure you hit that minimum payment every month if it's low interest debt. Because even if you miss a payment once, especially if you have a very young credit, so if you're under the age of 28, if you have very young credit, or you just haven't had credit for a long time, that one missed payment could cause a big backdrop or a big cutoff. It will get better even if you miss that one payment, or you have missed a payment but now you're paying it all on time. It's just not worth it though. If you're taking all these steps to cut your debt and improve your credit, you can also apply to a credit card. Don't apply to a lot of them, but just apply to one good credit card, a rewards card if you can, or something where you get bonuses. But this will help increase your credit, because now you're paying off another line, or it shows the credit companies that, hey, more people trust in you with their money, and there you go. And it helps you build leverage as well, because now in case a great investment ever comes up and you need $10,000, you have $10,000 on that credit card, or you need whatever amount you have on that credit card, you have leverage. But don't use this money like it's just cash sitting in a bank account, because that's not cash. You will have to pay it off and you will have to pay interest. But it's just good to have. It's just good to build your credit off of that, as long as you're responsible with it. If you start doing all of these, your debt will start to drop and your credit will start to skyrocket. It might take a little bit of time to see your credit go up, but once it starts going up, it's on a constant movement. So hopefully you guys are still there and you haven't zoned me out yet. But we finally made it to the end. Following the 3 steps we went over: increasing cash flow, investing, and cutting debt, you will be on your way to wealth this year. Leave a like if you learned something, and write a comment below on what steps you're going to take this year to increase wealth. What do you need to do? And hold yourself accountable to that. Look at the comment box whenever you get a chance and be like, hey, am I taking these steps? Write it down in your notebook, write it down on your dream board, write it down in your journal, your diary, wherever. Just make sure you know these 3 steps inside and out. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Anthony out.